Also, a Lubbock man will remain in jail until his federal trial, where he is accused of sending threats over the internet.
Prosecutors say he openly advocated for killing the children of poll workers, election workers, office holders, and anyone who did not agree with his politics. Frederick Goltz is charged with interstate threatening communication. Court records show he used a right-wing social media site to make the threats. The federal complaint indicates Goltz posted about shooting poll workers and election officials in Arizona, as well as their children. Other posts on the social media app Gab show Goltz made threats against law enforcement, government officials, and Jewish people, including advocating for what he called, quote, a real Holocaust.
And here is one post the Justice Department attributes to Goltz. On one social media site, a user said kids are off limits, but the account linked Goltz to saying nothing is off limits. He accuses the other user of not having the the stomach to do whatever it takes to, quote, get our country back. He alludes to a wartime mentality, saying he doesn't want to share a foxhole with the other user. Goltz could face up to 5 years in prison if he is convicted.